Nigerians around the country are celebrating Democracy Day to mark the day the military handed over power to an elected civilian government in 1999. President Muhammadu Buhari, in his broadcast message to the nation yesterday, charged Nigerians to never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy during the 1993 electoral process. He maintained that the patriotism and peaceful struggle of these heroes should serve as a guide in electing new leaders and holding them accountable. While the whole country celebrated the special day, the Ondo State Government cancelled this year's celebrations in the state following the attack on the St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo. According to the governor of the state, the cancellation is to enable the people of Ondo State to mourn their loved ones who lost their lives in the horrific attack. Joining us on the show this morning as we discuss how far we've come as a country under democracy is Ayo Opadokun, another statesman who was a former Secretary General of the National Democratic Coalition and NADECO, alongside Wale Okunniyi, civil activist, politician, and convener, June 12 Democracy Movement. Welcome to the show, Chief Opadokun and Wale Okunniyi. Thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you.
Well, quickly, let me ask the two of you to help us set the tone for this conversation by talking about the significance of June 12, the symbolism of MK Abiola, the nature of the struggle, and whether or not 29 years later, June 12 has brought the people of Nigeria the hope that was promised by Chief MK Abiola in 1993. Let me start with you, Chief Ayo Opadokun. Chief Ayo Opadokun, if you can hear me, please go ahead.
Well, I'm afraid that I'm not enthusiastic about commenting on the state of the nation, because the hopes and the aspirations that attended the June 12 election and the victory of MK Abiola, since it was annulled, all effort to restore Nigeria's dignity and respectability have been frustrated by the military, their surrogates, their loyalists, their sympathizers, their acolytes, who have taken effective command of both the political and economic space of the Nigerian country. I dare say that what we had, what we labored for which we sacrificed everything about us, in losing our sweat, losing our blood, losing our liberty, losing our loved ones, to restore democracy to Nigeria and to annul the victory of MK Abiola has not achieved much. There could be pretense, as there are today. Yes, you now have civilian government. I don't consider what you have today as a democracy. You have civilian government, but I do not consider that there's anything democratic in what they are doing. And it's a terrific slap on the face of those of us whom God used to fight for the campaign successfully, to force the military back into the barracks. There are too many revisionism going on in the country today. Most of the current actors were hand in glove, lockstep with the military, and they are still pursuing the military agenda. That's why people like me feel great pain as to the consequence of Nigeria remaining an underdeveloping country after 61 years post-independence. that a country with our human and natural endowment that have exported crude oil for at least 20 years at an average price of $100 and an average 2 million barrels of oil every day cannot boast of any commensurate social services, education, Medicare, food, housing, and the likes. And yet, particularly from this so-called republic, all that we've been hearing are not genuine. They know in their hearts that they're still dancing over the grave of Chief M. Abiola, the matter of our democracy. And it's painful that there's nothing, it's as if people are saying we should not mind what the evil that the military had infested and imposed upon us. We should just take it from there as given. Then we should start now to be building something or nothing. And people like us are not really persuaded that the way should go. No nation really can thrive in doing that. And that is what we're engaged in doing up to the present. So for me, I would dare say that Nigeria certainly is not on the right course. All the characters and elements who are busy going around, assuming all the effort I've seen they made, is as if they have accepted the evil design that the military imposed upon us since January 15, 1966. And they keep on behaving as if it was commanded by God. The federal constitutional governance upon which Nigeria secured its independence had been substituted with series of military decrees, particularly decrees 1 to 9, which had centralized and unitarized governance in Nigeria. That is the most important thing that Nigeria really should confront. That is an existential problem. Without taking care of that or of restoring Nigeria to federalism, all these forfeit are shadows, chasing shadows, rather than the reality. And it's even epitomized by this recent so-called primary election, which had given sufficient indication to anyone who is discerning enough that Nigeria is still in the dirt wood. How can you imagine that in this century of our Lord, where people cannot have 1 square meal a day, Nigeria, many state governments cannot even pay 30,000 naira minimum wage, that candidates for election in Nigeria, for presidential election, have to pay 100 million naira as application form. And you see the debacle that happened at the primary election in both MK Abiola Stadium and at the Eagle Square, that it revealed that the highest bidders won the day. Secondly, that the government that Nigeria the Nigerian state is pursuing is a government of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich.
Well, Chief, sorry to interrupt you.
That's to say that if you are going to take part in politics in Nigeria, it's better that you go and break into the Nigeria Central Bank and collect as much money that you need to bribe the delegates, bribe the electorate, bribe the electoral officers, buy the security agencies, and then buy the judiciary.
Chief, permit me to interrupt at this point so that we'll bring in Wale Okunniyi for his own insights on the questions I raised earlier. Wale, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. For me, it's a sad story. It's unfortunate that Nigerians fought for democracy, got democracy on June 12th. But unfortunately, the military again circumvented that and foisted on us something that is totally, undemocratic as democracy. Today you have civil rule. Nigerians fought to have what you call democracy against military rule in 1993. Came together in spite of the odds against the process. Voted Chief M.K. Abiola, even voted a Muslim ticket at that time. But unfortunately, it was annulled. And again in 1998, you had the military foisting on us a concussion and manipulated the process and gave us what we have today, which is not totally democratic. What you have today is merely what I call civil rule. And it's receding every year. We recede backward instead of moving forward, just like Chief Opadokun has tried to express there. Today, it's money politics, what political scientists call prepender politics, or what people call plutocracy. So it's government for the rich and for the rich and everything for the... So it's really sad. And again, the Nigerian unity that we fought for is also not there again because we are so divided. We are terribly divided that nobody believes in Nigeria. Nobody at this time, nobody believes, everybody, believes in one thing or the other, Yoruba, Hausa, Christian, Muslim, etc. Because we have not facilitated a united country. We are yet to have that through a constitution of the Nigerian people. Because what was foisted in 1998 was a military decree, number 24. And it was regarded as a constitution. And that cannot drive democracy. It means that you don't have democracy. That's the simple implication. When you have a military decree governing you, it means that you are still under military rule. If we must put our mind to that, you can only run democracy when you have a truly democratic people's constitution, a constitution made by the people. So we know that if the foundation be faulty, what can the righteous do? And the foundation of Nigeria is faulty to the extent that the people were not allowed to bring about a constitution of their own that can drive democracy. And that is why people like Professor Ben Nwabweze, SAN, made the point that Nigeria doesn't have a democracy even at this point. So we really have work to do. We cannot continue. Some of us have said to ourselves, we can't continue by lamenting. Lamentation, agonizing, a complaint will not help anybody, except we who are Democrats, who are genuine Democrats, come together, eschew our differences, and put in place a process of agitation and struggle that can bring about real true democracy or popular democracy. It will not happen. It wouldn't be served a la carte. Power cannot be served a la carte. The people must take it. And that is why we have been creating movements to see that we get to the point, that June 12 tried to bring about in 1993. The Hope 93 and the June 12 lessons. Except we come together. People who have hijacked power, who are today, running our democracy, will not leave it easily. They will not give it to you. You have to take it from them. And you have to be organized. We have to be united. We have to be formidable enough. And that is ongoing as we speak.
Okay. So I'd like to piggyback on what you said. You said the real Democrats have not come in. I'd like to ask, who are the real Democrats? And secondly, a lot of people argue that, what are we even talking about? That most of the participants in our democratic process now were people from the June 12 days. that were participants there too, that they benefited from the June 12th experience. But the question is, they are in power today. So why are we still complaining that the vision of June 12th is not achieved when a lot of people that are in politics today are from the June 12th days? They understand the June 12th ethos. They understand for the betterment of Nigeria. So what happens? So when you talk about real democrats, I wonder what's going on. There are a lot of people, we can mention them, that hold prominent position in the political sector in this country, in this country, that were from the June 12th school of thought.
Thank you. That's some point. But then, the problem is systemic. It is about system and the structure that you have. It's not about even the people. I have told you that if the foundation be faulty, what can the righteous do? Those who enjoy this and who are not saying anything about what obtains now cannot be regarded as true Democrats because they enjoy this and they are in bed with this system. But for those, when I say those who say this must change and are doing things around changing it, are the real Democrats. Because you cannot say you are a Democrat and you have this system that excludes majority of Nigerians and still refer to yourself as a Democrat and say what you have is democracy. We know that what we have today is not democracy. I know. And I know that Nigeria does not have a constitution in the classical sense of it, a people's constitution. We run a military decree. And you cannot be in power on that and not changing it and deem yourself to be a Democrat. Except if I am in government today, for instance, the first thing I do is to bring about a system that allows Nigerians to give unto themselves a constitution of their own. That is when democracy can take root. That is when you can say you have democracy. But what you have today, the foundation, the system, the structure is so warped against democracy. It puts it in the hand of a few. You call them cabal, you call them cartel. So they run your life and they make humongous profit out of it, and they enjoy it because they are slave masters. The system creates slave masters. So therefore, you cannot say those are Democrats because you know people by their fruits. You know them by their fruits. So when people are in government exploiting the system, manipulating the people, circumventing the process, they cannot be called. So those and the real Democrats are those that I think are form organization, movement, are agitating for a change. Some people call it restructuring. Some people call it re-engineering. Some people call it re-systematization. Some people call it all form. Those are people who want, and when you talk about restructuring, for instance, it's not just about the content. It is the procedure. Because what gives legitimacy to any constitution, it is not the content of that constitution. It is the procedure and process leading to it, whether it is inclusive, it is democratic, it is transparent, it is accountable, and it is accessible. Okay. Those are what makes you have democracy. But when the people are taken out of a process, then they cannot be said to have democracy. Okay.
Sorry. No, did you want to ask Chief Opadokun your question, Rufai? No, you didn't. Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask you, Chief Opadokun, sir. 2023 hopefully presents an opportunity for a new chapter. What needs to happen so that we don't squander 30 years on, which will be 2023, we don't squander the gains that we have made as a result of the June 12th election? Because as critical as we can be rightly, we have made some gains. How do we consolidate on that and actually build a democracy worthy of the name, given this opportunity round the corner?
Thank you. I'd like to make one or two commentary on the last question that Rufai made, because it's critical. And I join you journalists to be mindful of what you say on the screen, because you are supposed to be the fourth estate of the realm to inform and educate the people, your audience, appropriately. For my brother Rufai to say that quite a large number of June 12ers are in government, that is absolutely untrue. I want him to give me a classic example of those elements that are part of us in the trenches who are not in government. I tell you that I do not believe that you have up to 2 or to 3% of them. The ones who are holding the reign of governance since 1999. Look at the like of Brigadier General David Mark, presided over the Nigerian Senate. Obasanjo, was he part of us? And he brought in his colleagues to even take over the party apparatus of the PDP. And they appointed their surrogates, their acolytes, their loyalists, and sympathizers. How do you call those ones? June 12ers. I do not imagine that. I'm not a pretender. I want to speak on diplomatically to tell the truth as they are. The truth of the matter is that we won the war, so to say, by forcing the military back to the barracks. But because we are not part of the system, we are unlike the situation you had in South Africa, where the ANC has grown over the years. It has passed through different stages so that they could contest for power. We are not in a position to do so here. And so the military elements again took over reign of governance in Nigeria. It was only in the Southwest here where, because of the contribution and the reputation of some of us had made, that people voted for the candidate we put in without much money. We didn't have money to distribute to anybody, and we won the election here. But in other parts of the country, that was not so. And since then, what the military had done is to further the damage that they've imposed upon us. Obasanjo, while leaving power, he knew what he did to bring Yaradua in. And his running mate, he knows what has happened to him. And then the consequence was that again, another military leader had taken over. So where are the new 12 elements who are in this government? That is to respond to that. Now, as to your last question, I do not believe that you can have democracy as long as you continue to celebrate this unitary centralist government, which has allowed a sectional core of non-democrats to appropriate the national commonwealth to itself at our expense. And that's what we have. I believe that if care is not taken, the way we are going, the explosion that is possible will overrun all of us. Today, Nigeria is a failure because we cannot even provide the minimum security guarantee for life and property of our people. Our land has been invaded by the so-called bandits, herdsmen, Chadians, Nigerians, and the likes. They are occupying our forests, and they are doing great damage. See what been happening. Even in Lagos here, in Southwest here, quite a number of evil things are happening to us, and nobody's complaining. You are not talking about what you can do in 2023. I'm not. That really is not my cup of tea. My preoccupation is to continue to work seriously for a situation where Nigerian state will be forced to accept the reality that we must return to federal system of government, so that all the ethnic nationalities will be able to organize themselves, utilize their own resources to service their people, and then there will be development and progress in the country. Anything short of that is you are just chasing shadows. I believe that what you are going to have is a mockery of democracy that as you have been having since 1999. That is my submission.
Okay, Chief.
All right, Chief. So I'd like to kindly respond to what you said I should name. And I'm happy that you answered the question yourself and you proved me right when you said that you people, the June 12ers, helped a couple of people get in there in the Southwest. Are you denying the likes of Bola Tinubu were part of the June 12 struggle? Are you denying that there were other politicians too that are in the mainstream today and they were part of the struggle that they had to flee this country? Are you denying them, Chief?
Can I just let me have an opportunity to reply to you?
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that when we formulated and established the platform called National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, by the grace of God, I knew the people, and I'm going to publish soon, by the grace of God, the June 12 story, the NADECO story. We know who were the people who were part of us. There is a lot of revisionism that is going on. Some element, quite a large number of them are claiming to be part of us, whereas they were hand in glove with the military oligarchy and the military agenda. Yes, you talk about Tinubu, but even he himself knew that he was operating from outside, where it was easier for you to be part of a movement. Nobody will arrest you. Nobody will detain you. Nobody will harass you. Those of us who are at home here, who suffered humiliation, repression, detention, how many of us are in this government have been since 1999? Who else can you point to? I can point to somebody. Chief John Oyego, the former governor of Ondo State. I can point to few people like that, but their own attitude and their contribution has been positive. But they are very few in number, very few. So don't use just one as a generic thing to give room for a large number of people. That's what I'm saying. They have no influence. What Tinubu in his governance of Lagos, perhaps he did some good things. He narrowed and expanded the financial base of Lagos. You cannot deny him of that. But I can tell you that that is not all. All that Nigeria needed had not been done because we are still under a unitary centralist government.
Okay, Chief, obviously you have expectations, and I'm sure while Okunniyi, you also have expectations with regard to the 2023 process. The parties have concluded their primaries. We've had the publication of the names of about 18 presidential candidates. Now, if you look at that list, Chief and Wale, who will be your favorite candidates? Particularly now that the Southwest has an opportunity to take over, some of the major platforms. You have Kola Abiola of the People's Redemption Party. You have Omoyele Sowore of the African Action Congress. You have Wole Adebayo of the SDP. You have Bola Tinubu of the APC. I think there are 5 in number. Okay, so what are your preferences? Who do you think can best meet expectations on the whole of that list? And then if you limit it to Southwest, which is your constituency. Let me start with you, Wale, and then we'll go back to Chief.
Well, for me, it's not about persons. And I'm not going to dwell on choosing person. It's not about person. It's about system. It's about movement. It's about group. I come from a thorough political setting, training, for instance. And I believe more in group, movement, system than person. You could be a good person naturally and become bad in your practice through your association, through your group. And therefore, we must, in politics, essentially deal with group and movement and see what is the best association, what is the best group that can best deliver, what is the manifesto of this, what is the agenda of this group. and you have a force that is emerging called the third force. For me, that is the way to go. The third force, which was firstly and created by a few of us who came together to say, no, we must have something that is value-driven and people's-oriented. And so what is the agenda of the third force, for instance? Okay, we have what we call, there should be for Nigeria a constitutional referendum where the people of Nigeria can take ownership of their country. The baseline is the constitution. They must through the constitution. And then they must be part of the transition. The transition that manipulated this democracy in 1998 is what brought us to this place. Because the military manipulated that transition and foisted a decree and then say, let's quickly take it, let's hurry, let's go, let's go, let's go. That was what happened in 1998. No, we don't want to stay. Beyond there, but let's go. And that is what has happened. So we need someone, or we need a group. It is party democracy, for instance. Multi-party democracy is not independent candidacy. So we can't be boxed to choosing. So I want to look at what is that emerging force. PDP, we have seen what they have done. They say share the money, etc., etc. You know, we see APC, it's very scandalous. You know, in governance, we're part of forming APC. We're part of the whole process. But it's a huge deceit. We were part of it, if you must know. We thought that it was going to save Nigeria. But those who took over the villa, you know, shock out the real people. And then started doing, is it what they call industrialization and whatever. And then they were reduced to what we call cabals. So therefore, we must stop looking at people. You can't have a human, a superman. We need to build institution and group. Okay. And therefore, what I will recommend is a movement that has come out to say, we want this place stable, united, and economically prosperous.
I get your point, except that in the process, as defined, Nigerians will vote for parties as represented by specific candidates. We're not going to vote for movements or groups.
No, we are going to vote for party, and that is a group.
So
I wanted you
for instance, say this party and this candidate. But let's go to Chief Opadokun. Over to you.
Ruben, let me say to you that I am not about to join you in the fray of making a choice out of these ones. I have no preference amongst them. The process that produces them, as far as I'm concerned, is part of the disaster that has befallen Nigeria. A situation where a country of this magnitude, this size, population, and the ruling party has 2,300 and something delegates to choose for Nigerians, not elected by us, these so-called delegates, but by party members. Nigerians have been shut out of the process significantly. You cannot build something on nothing. As far as I'm concerned, my focus is whatever it is, any group, any organization that is working must work towards getting Nigeria restored to federal system of government. Once we do that, that will be takeoff for reorganization and the configuration of the Nigerian state. I have nothing else to contribute than that.
Well, I think on that note, we draw the curtain on this conversation. We'd like to thank you very much, Chief Opadokun, and Comrade Wale Okunniyi, who is right here with us in the studio. Thank you very much.